upon a time, in a cosy little house at the end of Meadowbell Lane, there lived a 6-year-old girl named Kayla. Kayla had warm brown eyes, 2 lopsided pigtails that never quite matched, and the kindest heart you could ever hope to find. She loved books more than almost anything, more than strawberry ice cream, more than splashing in puddles, and almost as much as she loved her soft yellow blanket that smelled like lavender and home. One quiet evening, just as the sun was melting into the horizon and painting the sky in shades of peach and gold, Kayla was looking for her favourite storybook. She searched under her bed, behind the cushions on the sofa, and even inside her toy chest, but the book was nowhere to be found. That was when she noticed something she had never noticed before. A little wooden door, no bigger than a step stool, tucked into the very back corner of her bedroom closet. Kayla tilted her head and blinked. The door had a tiny brass handle shaped like a moon. She had lived in this room her whole life, and she was absolutely certain that door had not been there yesterday. But Kayla was the kind of girl who believed that the world was full of wonderful surprises, so she took a deep breath, reached out her small hand, and turned the little moon handle. The door swung open with a soft creak, and a warm golden light spilled out from inside. Kayla peered in and gasped, for beyond the little door was not the back wall of the closet at all, but a long, winding staircase made of pale silver clouds, curling upward into the evening sky. And sitting right in the middle of the first step was a rabbit. But this was no ordinary rabbit. This rabbit's fur glowed, softly, gently, like a nightlight, wrapped in the fluffiest coat imaginable. The glow was the colour of moonbeams, warm and white, and a little bit golden all at once. The rabbit looked up at Kayla with bright violet eyes and twitched its nose in a very friendly way. "Hello," said Kayla, because she had wonderful manners. "Hello, Kayla," said the rabbit in a voice like a soft bell. "My name is Lumi. I've been waiting for you. There is a library up above the clouds that needs your visit tonight." Kayla didn't even wonder how the rabbit knew her name. It felt perfectly right, the way things do in the most magical of moments. She stepped through the little door and followed Lumi up the staircase of clouds. The steps were soft beneath her feet, like walking on the fluffiest carpet ever made. Around her, the sky deepened from peach to lavender, and the first stars began to blink awake, one by one. But before they had gone very far, Lumi paused and looked back at Kayla with a gentle, knowing gaze. "You'll want to bring something warm," Lumi said. "Look behind you." Kayla turned, and there, hanging on a little hook, just inside the cloud staircase door, was a sweater. It was unlike any sweater she had ever seen. It was deep violet, with tiny silver stars stitched all across it, and along the cuffs were little moons embroidered in gold thread. It looked as though someone had knitted the whole night sky into a garment just the right size for a 6-year-old girl. Kayla lifted it carefully. The moment she slipped it on, she felt a wonderful warmth wrap around her, like a hug from someone who loved her very much. The stars on the sweater twinkled faintly, as though they were happy she had chosen it. "That sweater was made for someone exactly like you," said Lumi softly. "You'll understand why before the night is through." Together, Kayla and Lumi climbed the rest of the staircase and stepped out onto a wide platform made of the softest white cloud. And there, perched on top of it all, was the most breathtaking sight Kayla had ever seen. A library. It wasn't like any library Kayla had visited in her town. This one floated in the sky like a magnificent ship. with tall round towers and windows that glowed amber and gold. Ivy made of starlight crept along its stone walls, and the great front doors were carved with images of open books and soaring birds. Above the doors, in shimmering letters, were the words, "The library of every story ever dreamed." Lumi led Kayla inside, and Kayla's eyes went wide as saucers. The library was enormous, far bigger inside than it appeared from the outside. Bookshelves rose so high, they disappeared into gentle clouds near the ceiling. Soft reading lamps glowed amber on round wooden tables, and floating gently through the air like slow, lazy butterflies were open books, their pages turning all by themselves, as though the stories inside were being read by invisible readers. But there was something wrong. Kayla noticed it almost at once. All the books on the shelves, thousands and thousands of them, were closed tight, and they looked sad. Their spines were dull, their covers were faded. In the middle of the grand reading hall, a little wooden podium stood empty, and on the podium was a single brass plaque that read, "Place the story that only you can tell." Lumi sat beside Kayla and looked up at her with those soft, violet eyes. Every book in this library was written by someone brave enough to be themselves, Lumi explained. But something has made all the books go quiet. The library needs a new story, one that only you can give it. But I don't know how to write a whole book, said Kayla, her brow wrinkling a little with worry. You don't need to write one, said Lumi. You only need to tell one. Tell the library about yourself, truly, exactly yourself, and the magic will do the rest. Kayla thought about this for a long, quiet moment. She walked slowly to the little podium and placed her hands on its warm wooden surface. She closed her eyes and thought about all the things that made her Kayla. She thought about how she always saved the last bite of her cookie to share. She thought about how she cried at the sad parts of stories and laughed at the silly parts out loud. She thought about her lopsided pigtails that she actually loved because one was always a little curlier than the other. And she thought about how she talked to butterflies in the garden, even though she knew they probably couldn't hear her. She thought about how she was sometimes nervous in new places, and how she held Lumi's soft, glowing paw anyway. And then she began to speak, quietly, honestly, gently, telling the library about the girl she was. She didn't try to sound braver or smarter or different. She just told the truth of herself, every small and shining piece. As she spoke, something extraordinary happened. The stars on her magical sweater began to glow brighter. The light grew and grew, warm and golden, until it spread from Kayla outward across the library floor, rolling gently along the shelves like a tide of sunshine. One by one, the books began to glow. Their covers brightened, their pages rustled and fanned open. The floating books above swooped and danced, and all around the great library the colours returned, rich and vivid, like a painting, coming alive after a long winter's sleep. Lumi let out a happy sound that was half purr and half bell chime. You see, Lumi said softly, being exactly yourself, that is the greatest superpower in the whole world. No one else could have done what you just did. No one else is you. Kayla looked down at her star-covered sweater, still glowing gently, and smiled the realest smile, the kind that comes from somewhere deep and warm inside. Around her, the library hummed with a peaceful, contented energy, as though it were breathing a long sigh of relief. The two friends spent a little while longer in the library, drifting between the shelves, trailing their fingers along the bright, happy spines of books. Lumi glowed softly beside Kayla, lighting every shadow into something gentle, and Kayla felt perfectly, completely herself. By and by, Lumi led Kayla back down the cloud staircase. The sky was deep and velvety now, thick with stars, and the air was sweet and cool. Kayla looked up at the thousands of tiny lights above her and felt small in the most wonderful way, the way that makes you feel held and safe, like the whole universe is watching over you. When Kayla stepped back through the little moon-handled door into her bedroom closet, she turned around to wave goodbye to Lumi. The glowing rabbit sat at the bottom of the cloud staircase, bright as ever, and gave one last gentle twitch of the nose. "Will I see you again?" Kayla whispered. "Whenever you need me," said Lumi, "and whenever you forget, just remember, there is only one you, and that is the whole magic." The little door swung softly shut. Kayla padded to her bed in her star-covered sweater. She decided she would sleep in it tonight, just this once, and tucked herself under her soft yellow blanket. She looked up at the ceiling, where the shadows were gentle, and thought about the library, and the books, and Lumi's warm glow, and the way it felt to simply be herself. Her eyes grew heavy. The stars on her sweater dimmed to the softest glimmer, like a nightlight made of kindness. A long, slow yawn escaped her, the kind of yawn that comes from a heart that is full and a body that is perfectly at rest. Her eyelids fluttered once, twice, and then, with a tiny, peaceful smile still curled at the corners of her mouth, Kayla closed her eyes and drifted gently, beautifully, all the way off to sleep.